Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for November 22nd, 2019. Q's basically flat. SPY is going to be up almost 0.2%. Okay. We talked about how yesterday's bar didn't really change anything for us. Today, another bit of an inside bar, another range bound day inside the range that we've established over the last couple days, right? And so that does mean going into Monday, nothing too exciting. Okay, so same thing, neutral to bullish going into Monday. Okay, I was saying how we really needed to get below here on the SPY 309, and then once we got follow through to the downside, we broke. We can play the retracement, anticipate lower prices after that. Rally should get sold, right, and start to look for a short-term downtrend. And we just were not able to do that. So that's kind of, kept us out of this chop from getting short too early and getting pushed around just because, the direction has not been picked. We moved down, but it's into all this support here to the left. So it's not the kind of thing that I expect will just give up and come in too easily. Okay, same thing here on the Qs here. Not able to get follow through quite yet. So we're still going to be looking at the same level of support here, 260 on the Qs, and on the SPY we already talked about under 309. Okay, to see if if we get underneath that, we get some follow through, next rally expect to get sold. Okay, all right. So I know the last few days been pretty quiet. We may be pretty quiet next week as well because of the holiday. But, we'll just let the chart tell us and see what we get on Monday, okay? All right, so I wanted to get into secondary offerings today. Typically what you'll come across is something like the G, and the language that you'll see when they talk about these is going to be something along the lines of selling, in the case of the G here, 15.4 million shares in secondary equity offering. Okay, so when something first does an IPO, that's the initial offering. Every offering after that is going to be a secondary offering. Basically, they're releasing more shares. Okay, there's going to be more shares outstanding. Okay, so it's a direct change on the kind of the volume of shares, the number of outstanding shares. Okay, so typically when that's the case, I avoid them. I don't expect them to go anywhere. Basically, what we're seeing here on the G is that I don't think they're going to give us much of an opportunity. It may break down, but if on the initial breakdown, it's probably not going to give us much follow through. It'll probably close somewhere around where it opens. You can usually tell that it's a secondary when they do a lot of volume in the pre-market, especially on something that doesn't trade that often. If it doesn't, trade that much, or it only does like 1 million shares, and you see that it's already done, 2 million shares or 1.5 million shares in the pre-market, a lot of times it's going to be an offering. Okay. So you can always just double check what the news is when it's an offering. I don't expect them to be able to establish a nice trend. If they break down initially, this is what I tell people is, if they break down initially, it's really just one shot, one target, and then be done. Okay, it's usually what happens. Okay, and so now you can see this is closing around where it opened. Okay, now I want to look at something that's a counterexample to that, because this, I think, we have to be on the lookout for, because this also was a secondary on the OPTN. Now you could make a distinction between some that are announced. If they're just getting announced and they haven't been priced yet, I think those do have a little bit more potential. Okay. And this had a really nice base breakdown and then the follow through. Okay, so, unlike the G, which just broke down and then popped right back up, you can see underneath the base, that kind of entry stop above the base, right, is a very nice play and a lot better than I thought. I thought this is going to break down, probably pop right back up and probably not go anywhere because it is a secondary. And it sure proved me wrong. So, when you come to that situation where you say, okay, I identified an opportunity, I didn't take advantage of it, okay, all right, so what can we learn from this, right? So this was a breakdown later into the afternoon, spent hours basing, okay? There's also some nice shock value actually in this. You can see that prior to the announcement, there were some longs that got caught, okay? So there's some qualities here that next time you run into something that is a secondary, that we, give it more than just an initial look. Like the G, I think, it wasn't hard to say, okay, let's pass on this. It already told you how many shares are being announced and did lots and lots of volume today. And so, the G, I think, and then as a gap in itself coming from multiple red bars, there's not a lot of shock value there. So this one, I think, was an easy one to kind of not pay too much attention to, right? But if we come across something like the OPTN, right, then we just have to give it more of our attention. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up because I didn't think that breakdown was going to work so well. So the fact that it did tells me, all right, then there's something here, there's an opportunity here. We should start preparing for the next one. Now, another way to interpret the secondaries, which we don't come across all too often, is when they announce the secondary and it actually doesn't get sold. Okay, so they announced a secondary on this day, and then before long, it recovered, right? Absorbed all of that, and people saw it as an opportunity to get more. So, what did we get today? My favorite strategy, my most accurate, my most the one that makes as much money as the pro gaps, the gap bullies and the gap berries. That's what we got today. Gap down and immediately got bought. And when I say immediately, in the first 10 minutes, right? And that's what we want to see typically, right? Is that if you gap down, right, maybe some longs, they panic out of it, and shorts thought they were going to have nice profits, and all those profits disappear, right? And they are now thinking, oh, I am in trouble. Okay, once that happens, you want to let it give you the pullback. You don't want to just jump in once it bullies. Let it give you the setup right in here. I mentioned this multiple times this morning, okay, and only reason that I chose not to kind of manage it for everyone is just, I said it's a little bit spready, just offer out at the targets, okay, and I did take some at the top and then eventually did trail underneath the hourly, so not a huge play, but I've just found that this strategy is the most accurate. And so then the other piece trailed out in profit underneath that bar there. Okay, so it was just a 5-minute pullback. Okay, 5-minute pullback and then based a little bit. So it was over this bar here. Okay, over 1820 with a stop at 1760. Okay, so there's your pullback. And then once we get a couple bars here basing, right over there. Target 1, 19. Okay, and then like I said, the other piece trailed under 1870. Okay, and so this is, the strategy that we perfected over the last couple of years. And, someone mentioned that it was their best strategy for October, beat all the other kind of strategies. And so, and for me, it's been the best in November as well. So, it's one that I want to continue to focus on. Hopefully because we go over a few different strategies in the market wrap from day to day, and even especially when I do a weekly recap, it may not all come together as far as, oh yeah, that's another gap bully, right? This OKTA gap down, powered through, right? And then pullback, you can enter in there, even gave another breakout right in there, right? And if you remember the MTZ as well, right? So it's a strategy that I wish showed up more often. Here it is. You can on the MTZ on this day had a nice breakout. You see again gap down, powers right through, and so these really stand out on the daily, right? And I think that helped to kind of bring our attention to these on how powerful they can be. There's the OKTA on the gap down, powered right through, and here's today's daily on the GSX. Okay, gap down, not a big gap down, but a gap down, and then broke through the resistance up to all-time highs. Okay, so the thing that I thought was kind of different about this one, it is a gap bully, it is a strategy that I really like, and a pattern that was really good was that this had announced a secondary and recovered from that really quickly. just absorbed all of that. People saw it as a chance to get more shares. So that told me that people were pretty bullish on this. Okay, so that was the GSX today. So, just, I wish we had more of these that just were gap downs or gap ups that would just reverse the gap in a hurry, perhaps trap some swings and some day traders, and just love that reversal. It just creates urgency in the stock right at the open and a chance for us to kind of join in the trend. So, just will be continue to be the focus until things start to slow down here as we approach the holidays. But really just glad to see it continue to work as we continue to kind of improve it and have nice gains from it. All right, so hopefully you did well this week. I think next couple weeks are going to start to slow down a little bit. Ideally they don't. Ideally things just stay nice and busy, but we'll see. Usually they do. So we'll see how next week goes. It is a shortened week. Friday is a half day. Thursday we are off. All right, so but I'll definitely see you guys Monday, okay, as we pick back up and prepare for the week. All right, so going into next week, going to be neutral to bullish still. You can see the daily still in an uptrend here, weekly still in an uptrend, right? Monthly still looking bullish, right? So larger time frames still going to be bullish. We're just watching the hourly to see if it can actually establish some kind of downtrend. We can get some kind of short-term selling, and that's going to need to happen first before we see the weekly monthly break, right? So it's not at least my trading approach isn't dependent on me trying to pick tops or catch bottoms, right? So it's the kind of thing that I will let the charts tell me what the trend is. Okay? All right. Have a good weekend, guys. I'll talk to you on Monday.